This story took place roughly around 20 years ago, just off the coast of South Australia. And this did not happen to me. This is a story I recall that happened to my father, one that he is happy for me to retell. One sunny day, he decided to do one of his favourite pastimes, fishing. He loved fishing, catching squid, flathead, it's all good stuff. However, there was always one that eluded him. The mulloway. Although he did not intend to catch the fish on this day, he had his spear gun ready just in case and intentionally placed himself in an area they are known to be in. He was enjoying the fish, just relaxing and taking in the peace of the open ocean. The fish weren't biting, but he wasn't too concerned as he was just enjoying sitting back, relaxing, and was just overall having a good time. He said he's not sure what made him do it, but he decided to take a look down into the water. There it was, the ever elusive mulloway, going right under the boat. He rushed, grabbed his spear gun, and waited for his moment. Adrenaline was pumping. He felt so exhilarated and alive. He fired the spear gun. Success. It was a direct hit. He had no second thoughts and dived straight into the water. He had his eye on the mulloway the entire time, not losing sight of it. But while swimming down, he noticed something was not right. He noticed there was blood in the ocean, and the blood was not from the mulloway. Suddenly, he felt immense pain in his hand. He had a look, and sure enough, he was missing a finger. He used his spear gun with rubber, and he realized that in the heat of the moment, he must not have loaded the gun correctly, and when the spear gun fired at the rubber, it must have hit his finger on the way, severing it. He had a concern. He was swimming in an area that has had recent sightings of sharks. A shark can smell a drop of blood in the ocean from kilometers away. This was a real cause for concern. My dad made a decision that although he does not regret, sees how it was not the best move. He proceeded to dive to get his fish. He grabs the mulloway and he heads back to the boat. When he was swimming back for the boat, his sixth sense kicked into gear. He didn't feel alone. He felt a presence, an immense presence. He didn't know if it was a shark, but refused to turn to sea. He threw the mulloway into the boat and sped off. When he was speeding off, he swears he saw a shark fin pop out of the water and circle. He was sure this shark wanted to feast on him. Nonetheless, he sped home and rushed to the hospital. He of course took a selfie of himself holding the mulloway before he left. He says he's learned a valuable lesson. You never know what's lurking out there in the deep blue.
I am a 22-year-old named Cassandra and I live in a small town. Growing up, there wasn't always chaos going on in the town and everyone pretty much knew each other. On this particular day though, about a year and a half ago now, it happened to be my sister's birthday and we spent it at a local restaurant. We all had a pretty good time, especially my sister. She is a simple type. She is content with having all the family together instead of having a crazy party. As the evening goes on, darkness settled in. We all noticed it was getting late and the restaurant was about to close. We all started to head out and said our goodbyes. My sister wanted to ride along with me. I remembered on the way back home that it was my turn to get groceries. My boyfriend and I would take turns and it was my turn. So my sister and I ended up shopping at a Walmart. There I did my shopping and we looked around, trying not to get distracted at things I didn't really need but things I really wanted. Within the 2 hours of us being there, we finally headed towards the self-checkout line. As we were walking there, My distraction got the better of me and I wanted to check out some sunglasses. There my sister and I were trying some on, but then all of a sudden a young lady that looked about in her early 30s approached us. She asked if we were from around town and proceeded to ask us about our religion. She goes on to tell us how she's in a Bible study group and if we were interested in joining her. Mind you, this was already late in the night, because when my sister and I took off for Walmart, it was already 11 at night. She then goes on to say we can meet up somewhere to have this Bible study session, out somewhere by a Target or elsewhere someday soon. But then the woman says something to us that seemed oddly strange to me. She said, "I also have pamphlets I give out, but they're in my car right now." My sister and I looked at each other strangely. The woman then asks us if we can exchange numbers so we can discuss this further at another time. Me being the person that I am, I politely said, "Well, I can get your number instead." She said sure, then proceeded to give it to me. When I asked her, "Hey, we never got your name by the way," she said her name was Zelda. From there we had to cut the conversation short because it was already getting late. Plus my boyfriend had called me asking what was taking so long. After we left, I never stopped to think why somebody like her would be out this late at night, at a store trying to recruit people for her Bible study sessions. About a week had passed. I was at work when my sister was blowing up my phone with messages. She then called me right after. I finally answered. My sister goes on to tell me something that almost puts me into shock. She said she was going through her Snapchat when she came across a friend's post saying, "Please be careful of your surroundings. There is a woman going around trying to lure young girls for what she's calling a Bible study group." When it turns out, this sick woman is actually trying to get these girls into a trafficking ring. When she told me that, a lot of things started running through my mind. Like, how long has she been doing this? Has she been watching us around the store? Or has she trapped some poor soul and they'll fall for it? That could have been us. All I have to say is to anybody that listens to this story, seriously, please make sure you check your surroundings. Anywhere you go. You just never know when it could be you. As for that Zelda girl, please, let's not ever meet again.
This story took place on a cold and rainy day. My mum and I needed to do our weekly shopping, so we headed to the local Walmart to get the things that we needed. It was a typical day at our local shop. Not many people there. It was a nice and peaceful shop so far. We grabbed our trolley and we headed down aisle 8. I really needed to go to the bathroom and I hung on as long as I could, but eventually I asked my mum if I could go, and thankfully she said yes. So I headed to the bathroom, entered the room, and I did my business. As an 8-year-old boy, I'd been taught about stranger danger, so I always tried my best to stay aware. I noticed this man, not sure if he was homeless, but he was dirty, ragged looking, and I noticed he was talking to himself. I ignored him and I just washed my hands. I noticed the man had started walking over to me with a big, greasy smile accompanying him. He asked me if I wanted some candy. I just had a tooth pulled. I said no. The man always seemed friendly, had a smile, but after I said no to him, everything changed. Suddenly the man grabbed me, would not let go. I felt helpless. I found the strength to elbow him and thankfully this loosened his grip enough to set myself free. Without purpose, I started running down some random aisle. I had no idea if he was chasing me or not. The only thing I had in my mind was to just get away, and I bumped into this guy. He could tell I was distressed, and he asked what was wrong. I immediately said this guy in the bathroom had grabbed me. The man called 911, and then he entered the bathroom and met this guy smiling back at him. He detained the man and performed a citizen's arrest. The police swooped on the area really quickly, which I was thankful for. They arrested the man without incident and they took him away. I am not sure what he wanted with me. I think I would have been happier not knowing. But the police would later tell me that he was known to them. He was a registered sex offender and had recently been released months prior after raping 3 children. I was speechless. It took some time to recover from this, but now I feel comfortable shopping at my local Walmart again. But it's safe to say I don't use the bathroom anymore. I'm not sure what happened to the man that grabbed me. I'm hoping he's back in prison. The world would be a better place without him roaming the streets.
This story took place when I was 8 years old in Indonesia, where I grew up. My mother and I were at the local market to buy our food supplies, which was a regular trip for us. On this particular day, it was pretty crowded and my mum was busy buying things, and I managed to lose her for a split second. Out came this creepy man. He must have been 50 or something, but could have been more. His face was full of wrinkles. He was wearing ragged clothing. At first he didn't say anything. He just stared and smiled at me. This made me feel very uneasy. Next thing I knew, he tried to grab me. Thankfully, my mum saw me and quickly came over and protected me from the man. She asked the man what he was doing and he didn't say anything back. He just left. We went home after this, and on our way, my mum asked me what had happened. Me being a shy girl, I didn't say anything and we left it at that. The very next day, I went to the market by myself. I did have worries that I would encounter the man again, but figured it would be unlikely. But of course I was wrong. Once again I ran into him. As he walked over to me, I was disgusted to see that he was wearing nothing but trousers. He must have realised I was alone as he started talking to me. He said that I was very beautiful, that my body was just perfect. My eyes, my hair, my small lips, everything. He even said he would love to marry me. Imagine that, an 8-year-old girl marrying a 50-year-old man. This creeped me out. I ran as quickly as I could without looking behind me until I got home. I told my mum what had happened, and she was shocked and scared for me. She forbade me from going to that market. From now on, she'll just go by herself. 2 months went by. Things started going back to normal, and I did not see the old, creepy man in that time. Me and my mum decided we would go to the market together again, and we felt relieved that we didn't see him there. But on our walk back home from the market, we were once again confronted by that same man. He said hello to me and started saying similar things to last time, like that he wanted to marry me, that I am the most beautiful woman in the world, and that he thinks I'd make a great wife. He even said to my mum that he thought I was so cute and that he would literally die because of my cuteness. Then he said he doesn't mind if he has to kill my mum if she does not agree with our marriage. This was maybe the most unsettling comment of all. I am so sick of this man. He made me want to cry. I just wanted to go home. My mum was so angry. She looked like she wanted to beat the man, but I grabbed her and we got away again. I felt so gross. It was the most disgusting thing ever. When we arrived at home, my mum told my dad what had happened. He was so furious and spent some time trying to look up the man on the internet, but no luck. Weeks later, me and my older sister went to the market since our parents were very busy. My sister is a strong, brave and tough girl, so I felt safe going with her. Plus we did not see the man at the market, so maybe he had finally moved on from that area. But once again, I was very wrong. When my sister and I were on our way home, the creepy man came out of nowhere and tried to kidnap me. I tried to scream, but he covered my mouth. My sister helped me by throwing her shoes at the man. It hit him right in the face with force. This made the man run away, and my sister and I rushed home back to safety. Now I am 16 years old. I have unfortunately been through these situations a lot. I am always getting catcalled, and I never wear any sexy clothing or anything. I always seem to have creeps stalking me or obsessed with me. This made me want to die and makes me feel as disgusting as that old man did. Sexual harassment is everywhere. You need to be careful. Anyone can get harassed, especially children. Please take care of yourself, and please take care of your children. We had been living in our council house in England for a few months when this took place. I was 8 at the time. Our house was a setup of 12 masonettes and the whole block was attached from door 1 all the way to door 12. It was a fairly multicultural block and we basically all knew each other. We were a family of 8, myself being the youngest. One day, there was a teenage boy who lived on our block who was part of a gang. I overheard him and a rival gang member having a heated argument. A few days after this incident, all hell broke loose on our entire block. One day, I was just hanging out on our balcony and enjoying the view, when I was suddenly alerted by one of the kids playing on the street. He warned me that around 30 gang members were approaching our block with machetes and homemade petrol bombs that they hadn't set alight to yet. My oldest brother was at work, but me and my sisters were at home at the time of the attack, but thankfully our parents were home. As the gang members approached the top of the no-through road, they began screaming and running. I could not explain how terrifying this was. We could do nothing. The gang knew that the boy lived on our block, but didn't know which number flat it was. We lived at number 1, so we'd be the first to be attacked. My mum took me and my sisters into the room that was in the centre of our home, and we all hugged and began crying and praying. My dad frantically ran from window to window trying to see what was going on, all the while trying to get through to the police. Their lines were jammed. Everyone on our block was trying to call them. My dad said that they were trying to light up their petrol bombs, but they just couldn't light them up. We began to hear banging and screams at our front door, and then they began running to the back door. Our back door was made of glass, and we were sure that we were about to die. All of a sudden, they began to run away and we heard police sirens. My mum just collapsed to the ground and began crying. This was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. I'm 49 now, and I hope I never have to go through anything like that again.
This happened to me when I was 11 years old. I wasn't the best sleeper, so I would often need my mum to take me upstairs and help me get to sleep. I was at a tough age where my dark room would scare me. Luckily, my mum had the secret touch to help me. She would tuck me in, kiss me goodnight, and this would make me feel better and less scared, which made me fall asleep a lot quicker. However, one night my mum was out and my nan was taking care of me. She was sleeping downstairs. I, of course, struggled to get to sleep, so kept myself occupied until I got tired. This took some time. I think maybe it was about 10 p.m. before I decided maybe it was time to try and get some sleep. It took some time. I ended up laying on my side and found that this worked. I finally fell asleep. I remember the night quite vividly. It was a clear night sky, nice big moon. I felt safe. However, this quickly changed. I started feeling this sudden sense of terror. Suddenly, my eyes burst open. I was full of fear. I had this unsettling feeling that someone or something was watching me. I made a mistake by looking at the end of my bed. A pair of eyes, terrifying eyes, were staring back at me. I tried to move, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. I could only move my thumb a little. I was completely stuck. I did not know what was going on. This demon, I will call it, was now on the move. I could hear it moving towards me, slowly, and then moving around my room. I've never felt so helpless. Suddenly, it dropped on all fours and started hurtling towards me. I've never seen such a terrifying movement. What sort of thing moves like that? It jumped on my bed, right on top of me, and proceeded to scratch my chest, or at least that's what it felt like. I could feel the pain. Next thing I knew, I could move again. I could lift my arm. It was over. I checked my chest and found no scratches. I rushed downstairs and saw my nana. She let me sleep with her. But when my mum came back home, I felt so much safer and was back in my bed. After talking to friends and such, I realized I had experienced sleep paralysis. The demon has not visited me again since, and I hope I never have to see those pair of eyes ever again. This story took place on a warm summer's night in Australia. I was staying at my auntie's place for the night, and we decided to take her black Labrador for a walk to the park. The park was a short 5-minute walk from her house. There was not much going on in the neighbourhood that night. It was very quiet, virtually no people around. But when we turned a corner, we walked past this van. I didn't think much of it at the time, but later on, my auntie told me she was instantly suspicious of the man in the van. The walk continued as we were about to reach the park. I was looking forward to doing some training with my auntie's dog, as he was still young and keen to learn. We reached the park, and I played fetch with the dog. I was distracted, but having a good time. However, my auntie was growing more suspicious by the minute. She noticed the van driving past, and it ended up parking on the side of the road, right near where we were playing. My auntie came over and didn't say anything about the van, but suggested we leave. We did end up walking a little bit around the park, making sure the dog got more than a 5-minute run around, but we decided it would be best to now head back home. My auntie suggested we take a quicker way back. I imagine this was to perhaps try and catch the man in the van off guard and see if we could lose track of him. We ended up going down this alley/driveway type thing. I instantly noticed there was a man sitting down in this area. I suspected the man to be homeless. He muttered something to me, and I swear I heard him say, "I think he is following you," but I may have misheard him. We continued to walk through this area, and when we reached the end, we saw something that did not belong. There was some dog food just on the ground at the end of this area. My auntie was concerned and immediately thought this could have been placed by the man in the van. Then once again, we noticed the van. He was once again parked right near us. Was he trying to put the dog to sleep, or worse, so he could get to one of us or both of us? We were not hanging around to find out. We immediately rushed home. Later that night, I was sleeping on my auntie's couch, and I started hearing suspicious noises. I swear it sounded like someone climbing the fence to get into our backyard. Then I swear I could hear someone intentionally walking slowly just outside where I was sleeping. I was frozen with fear when suddenly all hell broke loose. I summoned the courage to look outside. I wanted to know that the dog was okay. When I looked out there, I saw no man, just the dog. He was walking towards the back door, but notably, I saw blood and bloody footprints. What on earth happened out there? I would never find out. I was certain this backyard scuffle was connected to the man in the van. I'm not sure if he wanted to get to me, my auntie, or maybe it was the dog he wanted. Either way, I am now always on the lookout for the man in the van.